Hello, friends. Welcome to Born to Be All of Me, the podcast. My name is Amber Sousa. I am your host, and I am beyond thrilled to welcome the one and only Tracy Litt. Tracy, we've had a conversation before, and you are a queen. You are a badass. You are someone who I am inspired by daily, and who I look to as a source of inspiration and just hope for this new world that we are building and creating.
Thank you. Thank you. I
And
received that. Yeah.
yeah,
We are building a new world.
we are. I remember the first time I was introduced to you. I was in Kathy Heller's program and her community, and you came in, and I just fell in love with you immediately. You're so authentic and unapologetic, and like, I was like, oh, I want to be her friend. I love her.
Thank you.
Um, I was telling you before we hit record, I was listening to one of your podcast episodes the other day, and you said, I'm here to help women remember who the fuck they are. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much my mission statement too,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Isn't it so great? Isn't it so great that we're all so tapped and we feel so clear that there must be an uprising?
Mhm.
Because why else would so many of us resonate with either I need to remember who the fuck I am, or I'm here to help women remember who the fuck they are. And we really need to do it. There is no more time for inspiration and aspiration. It is time for the rubber to meet the road and for us to really embody that truth of who the fuck we are, that unabashed, unapologetic, fullest expression of who we are, which is an interesting combination of the truth of who we've always been before, life layered itself upon us,
Right.
and the capacity of who we're capable of becoming in versions of ourselves that we haven't seen yet. So it's both a remembrance and a creation, and that's exciting.
It's very exciting. And I feel like there's this collective, like, divine feminine consciousness, right? And many of us who are waking up, and it feels as though we're coming out of amnesia. Like,
Mm,
wait a minute, like, what the fuck? Like, that was all a lie. All the years that I self-abandoned, all the years that I played small, that was all a lie. And so because many of us have spent so many years not embodying all of who we were born to be, now we're like on this mission to make sure that we help every woman that we come into contact with, that comes to us, remember who she is. And
yeah,
because the world needs us to embody all of who we were born to be.
that's right.
I want to
That's right.
read. So this is from you are the founder of the School of Becoming.
Yes, I am, and I'm very
Yes, you
proud
are.
about it.
First of all, anybody who's listening, pause and go to the schoolofbecoming.com right now, because this purple gorgeousness that you've got on the main website page, I'm like, what is this? It's so delicious and sensual, and oh, it's so
Mhm.
yummy.
Thank you.
So go to that. But I want to read this because I really feel like this is something that speaks to my soul and speaks to every woman that I meet. So it says, for centuries, powerful women have sensed a limitless potential within, but fully embodying it remained a mystery. It was as if a secret code had been lost, fractured into a million pieces, and scattered across the furthest realms of science and spirituality. And no one seemed to be able to put all the pieces back together until now.
Yes.
Oh, it gives me
It's
chills.
so sexy and it makes me cry, and it's just the truth.
It makes
It's
me
true.
cry too. Tell me
Yeah.
why it makes you cry. Tell me a little bit more about where that emotion
Um,
comes from.
it is pride. It is certainty. It is fuck yes, we're finally gonna do it. It is thank God I was willing to go first.
Mhm.
that I have learned what I've learned so that I can teach it, because that the curriculum in the school is the reverse engineering of how I've become who I am and how many evolutions I've experienced, and this overwhelming excitement to contribute to the building of this new world before I leave this physical body. And it's an incantation, right? And an invitation. And it's the emotion in the words is undeniable. And emotion helps people move. And we need you to move.
We do. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I can feel from you and also from me just the gratitude of
Mm,
having arrived at the place we're at now,
mm,
having walked through all the versions and iterations that we've been before, right? That
yeah.
I mean, I remember you telling the story about being on the floor of your garage crying with a young baby and not knowing what your next chapter was going to look like. And we've all had moments that those moments when we're on the floor, literally or
Yeah.
figuratively, in tears, feeling like we have no idea how we're going to get through that. And yet we do. And so I'd love to hear. I know that there's so many women who are listening who they might be in that moment on the floor. And
Mm,
so tell me what happened, where were you, and what helped pull you out of that?
mm. I was a single mother with Taylor, who was 8 months old at the time. She's 20 now. And she's so cute and thriving. Can't wait to tell you a good full circle moment about this that happened earlier. And I had just realized that I had been trying to squeeze a round hole into a square peg, making the relationship with her biological father work. I had sold myself the lie that he was the one and this was the relationship of my life. And we built this house and we had this baby. And what I came to understand was my unworthiness chose that relationship. And he was so far beneath what I deserved that it's like shocking. And what pulled me out of it was a combination of me being willing to go into the darkness, right? To walk in the garage while Taylor was crying inside, to fall to the floor, to just release, not think, not figure it out, but just go full throttle into my body and allow the darkness to do what it needed to do, which resulted in a couple of hours of hysterical fetal position, really thorough crying and screaming. And after that, which is very beautiful and typical after solid emotional release, there's this palpable, beautiful silence that comes when you've gotten it all out. And it's like the light that comes starting to shine through. And in that silence, I was able to hear her, her being my highest self, my next level self, my future self, put all the words to it. And the whisper was very clear. And I always try to describe it. It's not like it was an actual voice talking to me. It was a sense that came through and a message that I heard, that I perceived I heard. That was very clear. You are going to get up. You are going to create a different life for that little girl that is inside of that house. Or you can stay a victim of your circumstance, and you know how that lands. And I rose and I abdicated my power to my higher self. And I let her lead. And I started to let her lead blindly in full faith. And she's been leading me ever since. I don't make any decisions. I have nothing to do with it. I'm the meat suit vessel director avatar that goes, okay, that's what we're doing. Okay, okay. And I rose all the way up from nothing. Like my father was dropping $500 checks off in the mailbox, trying to help me in a world where I didn't want help because that's another thing we're famous for until we become conscious. I got it. I don't need anything. I don't need anything. Hyper independence was my adaptive behavior. And became a VP of HR, no college degree, just made it happen through straight up hard work and personality and perseverance. And then that quiet night happened again when my soul kept going like, okay, this isn't it. You're here now, but this isn't what you're supposed to be doing with your life. There is more. You are meant for more. You are here to do something that has a much bigger imprint. And then there was a night again where I got quiet and there was waves in the ocean sitting over a balcony in the darkness. And there she was again. Let's go. And I enrolled in coaching school and manifested a layoff from my job 4 months later, full steam ahead, built this impact company, and here we are.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It makes me so emotional because I have a very similar story of her,
Mm.
and I have also been, to the best of my ability, allowing her to guide me and make choices for me for the last 10 years. I remember hearing you talk about when you were a VP for human resources, and there was a period of 2 years where you knew that was no longer where you fit, and yet actually taking that leap was like, oh, because
Yeah.
I know that so many women that come to me for coaching, they're in that place where they know that what they're experiencing and the version of who they are is not the end, and yet taking that leap,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
tell me about a little bit about that 2-year process, and what was it that finally allowed you to take the leap?
So what happened in that 2-year process has become the underpinning of my expertise in the world, which is fear, the biology of fear and risk, and what it means to move into trust. And what was happening to me in those 2 years, I can only speak eloquently about it because I now understand it. But imagine me, just like you, beautiful listener, feeling really pumped and convicted on a Monday. Like, that's it. You're right. I'm answering my soul's calling. I
Yeah.
am going to become a coach. I'm going to go back to school. Yes. And then on Wednesday, I would sit back down and do nothing. And then on Friday, I'd be all in. And then on Saturday, who the hell do you think you are? And I did the gas break. That's what I call it, the gas break game, on and off and on and off and on and off. And it was that another quiet, quiet, silent, the power of silence will blow you away if you could break your addiction to chaos long enough to sit in the silence, which we can talk about. And in that night of silence, that voice came back, her, let's go. You have more to do. You can't die like this. You have more to do in this world. So I once again abdicated my power to her because she had led me to where I was. She'd been doing a great job leading. Me continuously pulling my current identity out of my way and going, okay, what's next? Yep, got it, let's go. Okay, what's next? Yep, got it, let's go. And that's what empowered that. And then when I did take the leap, I committed to myself for all of you. I said, well, I'm going to understand what the fuck that was. Because
Right.
how can I be so jazzed and inspired and like, and then paralyzed the next day? Like I had a genuine, like total, I don't understand. I need to understand what is happening at the level of my body that I can be so pumped and be so paralyzed
Right.
almost in the same day.
Right.
So then I started studying, and this went beyond, this wasn't my coaching school education. My coaching school education was lovely, but that's not where this came from. This came from me becoming obsessively researching fear, reading books about risk and risk perception and risk aversion and risk tolerance and understanding the body and diving into the nervous system and diving into the biology of fear and understanding the brain and the amygdala and the hypothalamus and the prediction machine that we are. And the interesting thing is that my entire life, I perceived I wasn't smart enough. And we all come through our lived experience with some iteration of not enoughness. And mine was I wasn't smart enough. So interestingly, that limiting belief has become my superpower as the founder of the school. Because the
Mm,
way I learn it's so succinct, and I need it to be so digestible and so simple and often very visual.
yeah.
So I have been able to take these very high level, enigmatic, and highly complex topics and drill it down in a way that you're like, really, Tracy, that's it? Like it's almost laughable how simple transformation really is.
Right.
It's the act of overcoming and transcending the addiction of the old self. That's the hardest part of the game. But the theory, the understanding of what needs to be done and what levers to pull is shockingly simple. So that's what I committed to. And I said, well, if I can save thousands and millions of women the misunderstanding of their fear response, because that's all it was. It was my fear response that got ignited because I was going to move into the unknown of leaving my safety of the job, quote unquote, and go out into something I've never done before in an industry I knew nothing about. And fear uses self-doubt as its like agent to get it done. So then all of a sudden, my fear response being ignited started driving and populating limiting thoughts like, who the hell do you think you are? What if you suck? What if it's too much of a risk? What if you can't go back to work? What if they judge you? What if you're not as good as you think you might be? And I would attach to that level of mind and I would sit back down and do nothing. And then my system would be like, sweet, she's alive. Yay, our job is done.
Good. We're safe.
And right, exactly. And my dreams and my potential was dying.
Yeah.
You don't get to have both. Your potential wins and your fear loses, or your fear wins and your potential loses. And when I
Yeah.
understood that and started rolling it into teachings, it was like, okay, game on. Now, I mean, our clients that come through the school and you come into mind magic, which is level one, and you evolve your identity, fear is not only is fear not a thing for you, fear is a blueprint and a path, and you know how to use it for
Mm.
your greatness. It's awesome.
It's so awesome. Oh my God. Okay. There's so many things that I want to say. So you talked about silence. That is my experience, right? That's what happened to me 10 years ago. I was having all of a sudden, out of the blue, severe and debilitating low back pain, and I couldn't move. And I was forced into stillness,
Mm,
and I was introduced to meditation, which I had never been interested in before. I was like, that's for other people,
yeah.
but I couldn't move. And so it was the first time that I was able to be still and silent. And that is what helped me start to cultivate my relationship with my her, so that when the voices that were internal and external, because I was living with someone that was like, you're crazy, you're out of your mind, you're having a midlife crisis, you live in a fantasy world, you need to live in reality, you're never going to be able to make any money, like all these things, right? So the only way that I have been able to continue to say yes to the call of my soul and to be guided by her is to daily cultivate and nourish and nurture my relationship with her. Is that something that you feel is really important, and how do you do that for yourself and for your students? How do you teach them?
To cultivate that relationship with her.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like that relationship is what has helped you be able to continue to say yes more and more and more?
It's that relationship and then understanding the inner workings of this whole show, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
inside of the school, it's all of our proprietary IP, right? And it's neuro identity evolution. That's the methodology. We call it mind magic when you come in level one, because you're coming in to tap into your own magic, and it's incredible. And then you can continue on and get certified in the work if you choose to. And that's a whole other gorgeous, gorgeous journey. And inside of the methodology, number one, it is based in you are already whole. We are not available at the School of Becoming to subscribe to a fix it, broken, problem based culture, lens, perspective, because a lot of that does take place in this industry and it's despicable and irresponsible. That keeps the person stuck in the third dimension of consciousness and the lack and the fear and the separation. And then if you come from that lens, you perceive you have something to fix. So now you're trying to grow from a deficit, and that just doesn't make any sense. And it perpetuates the lie that unworthiness is real, and it's not. So when we start your journey going, okay, wait a second, coming back to what we're saying about amnesia and remembrance, it's like the truth, scientific truth, as in I will explain and show to you as I teach you in module 1 what you are derived from and the truth of your wholeness and inherent worth. Everything else is the lie. That's the part we get to unbecome. That's the part we get to program out of you, so that we can program into you the truth of your wholeness, your oneness, your connectedness, your lovability, your creativity, your safety, your security, your sovereignty. And then that connection to your, we'll call her, right? That's how we refer to her. What would she do? We own, that's part of like the work. What would she do? You're becoming her.
Right.
You do develop, and we take you through a journey to connect to her, hear her, feel her, sense her, so that she can lead. And then inside of that becomes, all right, so then how do we love our nervous system, and how do we get back in our body, and how do we truly rewire our brain so that our default thinking is different than what it currently is, and how do we understand the way that our brain functions and why our focus matters, right? Something I see so often is a woman will say, I'm ready and I want to trust my team and take vacations and let my business grow. But then everything that she's focusing on and every word that's coming out of her mouth is the direct opposite of that. My team's so hard. It's hard to find good people. I can't take any time. I can't trust anyone. Everything is so clearly becomes such a lack of congruence. So this is truly about us helping you evolve your identity into becoming and embodying her now, not waiting for something in the evidence of your reality to tell you it's safe. You embody her now, and you let reality catch up to where you're going and what you're creating. My body just like chilled. And it's like, that's the game. That's the choose your own adventure.
Right.
And when you can learn to give your system the safety it needs on demand, because your system's not going to let you do that because it's so unknown that it's going to start to pull out all the stops to put the brakes on. But when you understand what nervous system love is and how you do it continuously, then you can move into future potentials without the evidence being there, because you understand two main things. You understand that the universe is your safety net and you're not doing this alone, so you can relax and exhale and you're not getting out alive and get the fuck after it already.
Yeah.
And that is powered by, and I respect the fact that I have a body and a brain and a nervous system that's wired to keep me alive, which means it perceives it needs to keep me the same, and that's how it perceives safety. So I need to get really, really good at giving my system what it deserves so it'll allow me to live out here in the unknown. And that's the dance.
It's so good.
Thank you.
Oh God,
Thank you.
it's so
I agree. I
good.
agree. I really agree.
I
It
know
is
you do.
phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
I love that because I've heard you say, and I know this is where a lot of people get stuck, that your past does not dictate your future. Who you've been in your past does not determine who you who
Are
your
capable
greatest
of
potential is
becoming.
and whoever,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
And
yes.
and I love that because so many people, including myself, get stuck in the tangible evidence. Like, well, this is who I've always been. This is how it's always turned out. And so you're teaching us to be able to, and I've also heard you say that you don't listen to any of your thinking. Like you just,
No, you cannot, and that's part of the
yes,
methodology.
yes,
You cannot believe a thought your mind offers you. You can't, you actually can't afford it, because
yeah,
when you understand, and we teach you this, when you understand neurotags, when you understand your neurons, when you understand your wiring, when you understand your emotional addictions, and the basis of it all being your system. And when I say the word system, I want you to imagine, okay, mind, body connected by this luscious nervous system, right? The whole biological component of it. is actively working against you 24/7, 365, because it is wired. It is a primal component of you. It is your first of three brains, and it is its job. Like, and it kills it. It's amazing. I love my fear response. Like, I'm alive. We're alive
Right.
because of it. The problem is that we've never been taught how to understand it, the truth about it, how to relate to it, and how to love it appropriately so it works with us instead of against us. And that's the sweet spot of what I have uncovered. And in my own evolutions, like when we take about it in the context of different success points. So let's talk about money first.
Right.
My father was putting $500 checks in my mailbox. It still makes me cry because he was so loving. And I didn't want any of it because I was literally like the opposite of receiver. I was like pushing it away. Like, I got it, I got it, I got it. I can brute force my way. It's okay if it's hard, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm on food stamps. What I had to do for my evolutions, the way that I think, the way that my nervous system is re-imprinted to feel safe holding millions of dollars in a company that I'm the head of,
Mm.
that's a massive leap. That's evolution, right? So it's starting to really same. Let's take love in my unworthiness, talking about Taylor's biological father, and men after him until I did a lot of work on myself and met my husband, who's now. I was only available for sociopaths and guys that wouldn't do what they said they were going to do because it matched my perceived identity of unworthiness, right? And more hyper independence, which was my adaptive behavior. So I don't really need a guy who's going to show up because, like, I got it, right? And then as I evolved again, I met David. I'm like, oh my God, like it felt so fucking uncomfortable because I was like, this guy, I was remember telling my sister, like, he just keeps like doing everything he says is going to do. Like, what
Right.
is that? What is that? Like I don't know how to be a goddess. I don't know how to be in my feminine. I don't know how to receive this consistency.
Mm.
And I had to create that safety again and again in my body. Like, no, Trey, like, it is safe for you to be loved like this. It is safe for you to relax and exhale and let him lead. It is safe for you to be in your feminine. All of these things, we have to change the nervous system to allow for it and to allow it to stay. It's one thing to experience something in a quick hit and be like, oh, that felt good, versus really not like self-protecting it away, right? In any of those instances, and money and love, and those are just two good ones because they're really like
They're
big
big.
topics for
They're
all of us.
big
They're like,
ones.
right, they're
Yeah. The
mainstays in our
main.
holistic success.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it is you then allowing yourself to sit in, and I do this really funny bit. I do a lot of theatrics in mind magic, a lot, because
Yeah.
I'm funny. I'm funny and I need to learn that
Performer.
way. So I
You're a
just like,
performer.
exactly, exactly. And I do this bit where I explain like that if you were trying to unlock your vision and it was sitting in a tall, beautiful, encased glass box at a high-end museum and it was surrounded by officers and matrix style laser beams so you couldn't get to it. Like if you just tried to run towards it and grab it, the laser beams would go off, aka your fear response, the
Right.
net would come down from the ceiling, paralyze you to the floor, and it's over.
Okay. I love it.
Part of this acclamation of my description of money and my description of love is a titration process. And to titrate is to move little by little by little by little till you ultimately turn around and go, holy shit, that was a big turn, right? Or my God, look at
Mm.
where I am now. We can't just run there.
Right.
So in doing that, it was a lot of like, oh, okay, he just did what he said he was going to do. Let me sit here. And instead of doing what my system wanted, which was run away, right? Or create an issue to
Yeah.
push it away,
Yeah.
I sat and I started to work on like, okay, body, it's safe for you to feel this.
Mm.
Let's make it safe for you to sit in this kind of love. And then again and again. And before you know it, that's how you actively like evolve. If you consider your Your zone of familiarity is like a center circle, and then there are rings that come out around it, and those are the evolved versions of you. It's like you got to sit in it for a sec, make it safe, allow it to be safe, then to go back to our museum example, crawl under the next laser beam, get to that next little point, and then stop.
Mm.
Acclimate, integrate, be there, then go again. And then before you know it, you're like, who the fuck am I? How did I do this? When people read my like intros or bios, if I'm speaking or something, I'm
Yeah.
always like laughing with myself because I'm like, this is so crazy.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's so good. I love that. God, what a beautiful analogy. I can visualize
Mhm.
the laser beams. And so how do you give me some like tangible tools that I can help my nervous system slowly start to get comfortable with newer versions of myself? What can I
Yeah,
do? What can the
yeah.
listeners do?
Yeah, so I'm going to share something with you that this is before I give you a practice.
Okay.
And if tools is what jives for you, cool. I would like to invite you to use practices over tools
Okay.
because tools, in my experience, denote something needs to be fixed.
Right. Got it.
And tools, in what I've observed from various students and their levels of commitment to embodiment, because you have to do the work. Like, I'm giving you all the water in the world, and it's all hydrating and it's all delicious. You have to
Mm.
drink it, or make that choice rather. Um, Tools become something that you kind of whip out when you think you need it.
Okay.
So it becomes a little bit more Band-Aid-esque, or you're waiting for that moment to occur for you to then use a tool.
Right.
And what I would love us all to move to is, okay, I'm always in practice. So I
Yes.
have practices
Okay.
because I'm either practicing who I've been or I'm practicing who I'm becoming.
Got
And
it.
that way you're embodying all the time. You're really in it to win it. Like it's just part of your commitment to evolving, being a conscious woman who evolves. You're not grabbing something when you need it. You are actively in practice of, oh, I'm walking to the bathroom. How does she walk? Oh, she walks a little bit taller and a little bit slower, right? And you start to really pay attention to yourself like that. And it's like mind blowing. So, practices. The first practice is breathing, which sounds crazy. And I love that we now live in a world where there is every kind of breath, every kind of breath work, every kind of
Mhm.
rate, depth, and pattern. Oh my God, it's fabulous.
Mhm.
And I don't even need you to go to like holotropic, deep releasing breath work yet. I really need you to pay attention to your actual daily breath because what I know to be true is you're holding your breath more often than you realize you are. And
Mhm.
when we hold our breath, we constrict and we dysregulate.
Okay.
And your she loves to breathe.
Mhm.
And she loves to breathe slowly. Yes, even like that, right? And deeply.
Mhm.
Ah, it's just such a magical thing. So that's really and again, it's simple. I'm not coming at you with any like 17-step formulas that requires like a brain surgeon to help you
Right.
with. The breath, being aware of the breath, setting an alarm on your phone for every hour and pausing and breathing in for 4, holding for 4, out for 4. Or you could, that's typically called box breathing. I like to call it flagpole breathing, 4-7-8 breath. Or anytime you can keep an exhale 2 counts over an inhale, you're changing the right rate, depth, and breath. So you can go 2 in, hold, 4 out. Do it again. In and out of your nose. 2 in, close your eyes. Hold, 4 out. It's luscious. So that's a practice. The practice of sitting in stillness with the felt sense of your body. So what does that mean? Um, let's say you're sitting on the couch and you're about to turn on Netflix. I'm all about it. I love Netflix. Pause a second. close your eyes, and tickle your arm.
Mm.
That's a way to connect to the body. And the body is, the nervous system is both the brain and the body. But I know you're not connected to the body enough. So if you slow down and you close your eyes and you just start to feel like, oh, like sensations,
Mhm.
that also starts to open the door. So I would say start with those things and then we'll continue on with the rest over time.
It's so amazing and so simple.
Yeah,
I had that
totally.
experience recently, the breathing in for four, pausing and out for four. I am coaching a woman who I let go of alcohol 4.5 years ago. It was something that I felt like was a coping strategy that was no longer serving my highest potential. And I find that a lot of women that come to me are also desiring to live without alcohol. And she called me and she was feeling the urge. And I left her a message. And that's exactly what I did. I took her through the 4 inhales, pause, and exhales. And I did it like 4 times. And she got through that moment without taking any action that would, bring her any feelings of, shame or guilt or any of the places that we go when we're not being who we want to be. And it was that simple. And
Mm,
and like you said, I mean, it can be that simple, just to
yeah,
come into our body, come back to our breath.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
and that
so powerful.
it's so simple. Like I said, it's none of the practices, it's none of the things. It's your ability to not be so beholden to the arousal that happens when an emotional addiction is getting stimulated or your current identity, right, is just like getting totally tickled by whatever's happening. And
Hmm.
your ability to pause and transcend out of that, go beyond that, and actually let your highest self choose, let your next level self choose. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's the science of transformation. That's what stops people from getting where they want to go. Because in those moments where that anger or that insecurity or that disappointment or that letdown or that pressure is just getting like fed by every behavior and action and thought, you have to be really, really, really aware of yourself
Hmm.
to be willing to pause
Yes.
and choose soul over ego. Please. We're working on it, but that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Walk me through. So you talked about, you've become the observer of your
Mm,
thoughts, and
mm,
you don't even really give them too much attention. So
mm-mm.
what does that look like for you? Like a thought comes in, that is not preferable, that's not going to support you in
Yeah,
becoming
yeah, yeah,
who you
yeah,
truly are.
yeah. So a couple things. It depends on where I'm at, what the subject matter is, or how rooted it feels.
Okay.
But I would do a few things. We could do the side by side, which you get to learn about in Mind Magic, which is profound, fast, and furious and shocking. You can go through a investigation question process if it's a really rooted one, also something we deliver in Mind Magic.
Okay.
Yes, I want you all to come in there and I'm going to teach it all to you because I'm telling you, it it is not a program. It is a evolutionary transformation that you will use for the rest of your life. One of my clients asked me the other day, she's like, "Well, as you're iterating now, right? Because we're building the company and our where we are right now is the intent is to make it a $10 million company, right? So I need to become a different version of myself. The version of myself that sits here at a $2 million company is a completely different version of myself that I need to become to go where we're trying to go, where we're intending to go, where we'll know we'll go as an online education company, right? So she asked me, she's like, so what like different advanced work are you doing on yourself? And I laughed and I was like, the work we all do, mind magic. I'm rewriting my she manifesto. I'm sitting in my meditations. It's the work that we return to again and again and again. So anyway, when my fastest go to when a thought comes upon me, because I am so aware of I know in half a second that a thought is upon me that is not congruent with where I'm going. because I am so good at my non-judgmental self-observation and I'm so connected to my body that I know how I feel in my typical open, expansive chillness.
Mhm.
So as soon as my body starts to go like, I'm like, oh shit, something is happening. And then oh, well, what the, oh, okay, wow. And I identify the thought. I say thank you. No, thank you. I smile. And then I say to myself, Tracy, nothing means anything and no one's getting out alive. Move on. That is the way I think every day. Nothing means anything and no one's getting out alive. You hit this, great. You don't hit that, great. That launch goes great, great. It doesn't, great. Who fucking cares? All of this is meaningless. Is this world even real? What are we doing here? Like, that's literally the way that I think because we all get so myopic and we get so serious. I mean, it's like, ugh. I don't want
Yeah.
any part of it. So when my system, and it does do that to me, 100% it does that to me.
Okay.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm not giving you airtime. No, thank you. No, thank you. Nothing means anything and no one's getting out alive.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I had that experience the other day. I just was being flooded and I'm like, I was just watching it going, isn't that interesting? Like,
Yes.
why the fuck? Don't stop fucking with me. Like,
Yes.
you're not even real. Like,
Correct.
what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You are the
Yeah.
you are the monster under my bed
Yeah.
when I'm, 6 years old and sleeping in the dark. You are not real. And I
Not
am
real.
not. And that's the thing about it. Nothing's real until you make it real.
Right.
You want to get to a place of power and a place of sovereignty and a place of enlightenment. Nothing is real and everything is perspective. So choose a better perspective.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Okay. I want to honor your time. There's two more things that I want to touch upon, and then I'm going to let you go.
Cool.
So, the other day, like I said, I was listening to your podcast and you were talking about self-doubt and you reframed it for us so that we saw it, we get to see it as a positive. Like, oh,
Mhm.
this is a good sign that I'm on the
Yes.
right track, right? So tell me a little bit about that. And then I want you to talk about your program that you have coming up so that everybody can
Cool.
come learn more about that.
Thank you so much. So it's similar to what we were talking about a few moments ago when we were talking about, your fear response gets ignited and then it uses self-doubt as an agent to kind of get you to stop or limited thinking. So just like fear becomes the blueprint and the path to like everywhere we want to go,
Mhm.
we get to realize that since fear and self-doubt are besties and they work super closely together. When you're experiencing thoughts of self-doubt, like the ones I shared, what if I suck? What if I'm not enough? You're never going to be good at this. Who do you think you are? You're going to make so much money that your whole family's going to come after you for cash. Like all the ridiculous things that come through because they are ridiculous. To recognize that, oh, when that self-doubt comes, it's because my fear response is ignited. And if my fear response is ignited, then that must indicate that I'm moving into the unknown. Oh, and if I'm moving into the unknown, then I'm leaving my comfort zone and I'm tapping into congruence with everything I say I want, everything I desire and deserve.
Mm.
Sweet. So when the self doubt and the limited thinking comes upon me, instead of attaching to it, believing it, and going into the rabbit hole of hell, I'm going to be like, yes, queen, that's awesome. And the other thing I said in that episode was, and this is part of what I teach in Mind Magic around fear, self-doubt, let's like take the label off of it and let's call it your fear talk track. Because that's what it is, right? Just
Yes.
like mine was sitting in corporate, that was my fear talk track. And
Yeah.
that and those thoughts were the same. Every time it would come up, it was some iteration of the same six
Yeah.
of what do I suck and blah, 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 right? So it's like, okay, cool. So now when it comes upon you and beautiful listener, it's okay, hold on a second. So wait, stop it. It's not real because something's real until I make it real. And it's not doubt because I need to believe that thinking. That's my fear talk track. Oh, fear's trying to stop me. Okay, fear's doing its job. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And now we're operating from a different place.
That is so helpful. That's such a powerful reframe. I mean, in a
Yeah.
moment, right? Because it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole and that addiction that we have to suffering, that addiction that we have
Yes.
to like playing small. But in that moment, if we could get excited about it, like,
Yeah.
ooh, this means I am expanding. And
Yes.
it's fucking with fear. And they're like,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like that's
Yes.
exciting. And then we're
It
just like,
is.
okay, you know what?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. I'm just going to
Yes.
keep doing what I'm doing, keep expanding.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I'm going to look back and I'm going to go, oh my God, look how many laser beams I was able to maneuver
Correct.
through.
But you're getting it.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
Oh my
Exactly.
gosh. Okay. Talk
Okay.
about this incredible offering that you
I'm
have coming up
so
very
excited.
soon.
Very
Very soon.
soon.
Please.
So,
Yes.
what we love to do is do everything we can to give you an experience of what it's like to become a student in the school, to really be held by us, taught by us, coached by us. So we do a 3-day free virtual live experience called Conduit. Now, Conduit specifically, and I love it because I love to play with words, the basis of Conduit is all about how you get to keep your drive and ambition, but lose the need to prove yourself. Because the proving energy is slowly killing all of your potential. So inside of Conduit, we hang out for 3 days and I teach you at 11 a.m. We do a 75-minute class and I teach you. And then you have an option to come to coaching in the evening with our head of coaching, Amanda. And it models exactly what Mind Magic is like. I teach in Mind Magic, and then you do weekly integration coaching with Coach Amanda. So it's really thoughtful because I'm an investor too. I'm a buyer too. And I would love to have an honest taste test of something, right? So that's how it's structured, which is really cool. Day one of Conduit is all about the unworthy identity versus the wholeness identity. Day two is all about emotional agility and emotional addictions. And day three is all about your leadership style because you weren't born with perfectionism and procrastination and overwhelm and sarcasm and control. It's an adaptation. So when you can understand that, you grow your awareness. And the key to this whole game is how aware can you become without judging what you become aware of. So that's kind of like the crux of what we do. And every day in Conduit, there's some sort of body integration because part of the success of the work we do is because we work with the body, because the body is ultimately the driver of the mind. So there's a tapping series that I do in one of the days. There's an emotional release that I guide in one of the days. There's a stunning meditation that we do where we drop your brain waves on day three. And all of that is our gift to you. Absolutely free. And then at the end of
Incredible.
Conduit, enrollment opens for Mind Magic. And that's our intent for as many of you are really ready and resonating with the work. It will be the last thing you have to do to evolve yourself because it's that damn good.
To unlock the codes
Yes,
to your limitless potential that you've
that's
always
right.
known was there and just
Yeah,
didn't know how to get there. This is it.
yeah. This is
This
it.
is it.
This is it.
Oh,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So we'll make sure to put the link in the show notes and it's
absolutely.
becomingtheconduit.com is the URL. So you could just head there too, becomingtheconduit.com.
Amazing. Yes, I will make sure to put all of your information in the show notes. And I adore you. I appreciate you. I'm so excited that I got to have this conversation with you and then I get
Same.
to share it with the women that I know. And
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just incredible. You
Thank
really
you.
truly are. Thank you for this
Thank
beautiful
you.
conversation. And I love that visual. I have a new visual now. Anytime,
Hmm.
a thought comes in or the fear response is activated, I'm just going to picture those laser beams and I'm going to say, you know what? My job right now is not to rush to the glass and take.
Yes.
My job right now is to breathe. That's it.
Hmm. Beautiful.
Just to breathe, come back to my body,
Yes.
and then slowly make my way under one laser beam at a time
Yes.
until all of a sudden I look back and I have become the version that I was hoping to become, and on and on and on and on, right?
Yeah.
Until we leave this body. That's it.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
all right. Thank you, beautiful Tracy. You
Thank you
are
so
a
much for
gift.
having me. I appreciate
Anytime.
you so much. Mwah! I will
Mwah.
see you soon.
Okay. Have a beautiful
Okay.
day. Bye.
Bye.